Let's talk about an artist who seemed to have every single ingredient for global superstardom. The voice, the moves, the hits. We are, of course, talking about Tinashe. And her career path is this fascinating kind of complex story about what happens when massive potential runs into the reality of the music machine.
And this question right here, pulled from a popular online discussion, it really gets to the heart of the mystery, doesn't it? A decade ago, she was on the launch pad, ready to go. So what happened? Well, the answer isn't really about failure. It's about redefinition.
All right, so to really understand this story, we got to rewind the clock to 2014, because Tinashe didn't just show up on the scene. She completely exploded onto it with a song that was, and I mean this, absolutely everywhere.
I mean, you have to understand, 2On was like perfectly engineered for success. This was her big major label debut. It had the hottest producer at the time, DJ Mustard, and a feature from the amazing rapper Schoolboy Q. It was slick, it was catchy, and this is key. It was a total departure from the darker, more alternative R&B she was known for on her mixtapes.
And yeah, it absolutely worked. The song was a monster. It shot up to number 24 on the Billboard Hot 100, which for a brand new artist is a huge deal. But you want to know what's even more telling? It hit number 1 on Rhythmic Radio and just stayed there. For a solid month, you literally couldn't get away from it.
So let's talk about what that means in terms of actual sales. 2On was eventually certified 4 times platinum in the US. That's 4 million units. This wasn't just a hit song. It was a certified smash.
So with that kind of momentum, you think the path to becoming the next A-list pop star was basically set in stone. But this is where the story gets complicated, and honestly, a lot more interesting.
Because when her debut album, Aquarius, finally dropped, fans and critics started to realize that the artist behind this massive hit was way more complex than that one single suggested.
And this is where you see the real tension in her early career. On one side, you have the super radio-friendly, club-ready sound of 2On. But on the other side, the album itself was atmospheric, it was experimental, it was true alternative R&B. It was a clear creative divide.
And let me tell you, the critics, they absolutely loved it. They praised the album's artistry, its unique sound, its depth. Rolling Stone loved its hazy mood, and people were making comparisons to legends like Janet Jackson and Aaliyah. So artistically speaking, this was a massive, massive win.
But commercially? There was a disconnect. The album debuted at a very respectable number 17, but it sold just under 19,000 copies in its first week. Now, for an artist with a lead single that sold 4 million units, those numbers felt really low. And this was kind of the first big red flag that the label had no idea how to market the multifaceted artist they'd just signed.
And that marketing challenge? It would pretty much define the next several years of her career. A lot of fans and industry watchers even call what happened next the RCA curse, this whole period where her creative vision just kept clashing with the major label machine.
And don't just take my word for it. Tinashe herself pointed out a huge structural problem at the label. She talked about how the company was basically segregated. She was in the urban department, which she said was treated completely separately. We're talking different resources, different promotion, from the pop department, even though her music was constantly blurring those lines.
So this internal split led to just a whole mess of problems. She was getting pigeonholed into a genre that didn't really fit her. She was facing a lack of funding for promotion. It got so bad she had to pay for some of her own music videos. The label was overriding her creative choices, and then, the real momentum killer, her second album was delayed for years.
And the toll this took was just immense. She described feeling frustrated and helpless during this time. All that creative passion that had gotten her to this point was being stifled by a system that just didn't seem to get her. Something had to give.
And it did. In 2019, Tinashe took this massive leap of faith. And this wasn't an ending. This was the start of a really powerful new chapter, one where she would finally take back control.
Just look at this timeline. She splits with RCA in 2019, and boom, she immediately starts releasing music on her own terms. We get amazing projects like Songs for You and 333 that critics and fans both praise for being authentically her. And then, in 2024, a full decade after her first hit, her song Nasty goes viral and puts her right back on the Billboard charts, all by herself.
So what does this new chapter of success actually look like? Well, it's about Tinashe basically rewriting the entire definition of what it even means to make it in the music industry.
I mean, the shift is just dramatic. All those creative conflicts, they're replaced by full creative control. The endless project delays,
replaced by a consistent stream of new music. And maybe the most surprising part of all, that idea of financial security from a major label was replaced by her actually making more money.
And that's not just speculation. Tinashe has confirmed it herself. Because she's independent, she keeps a much bigger piece of the revenue. In fact, by their own account, she is more financially successful right now than she ever was at the peak of her mainstream fame. Just let that sink in.
And how does she feel about all this? Well, after Nasty took off, someone asked her what she thought her old label's reaction was. Her response was perfect. I know they're gagging. That is such a triumphant, confident statement from an artist who proved she never ever needed the machine to succeed.
Which, of course, brings us all the way back to that original question. After everything, what's the verdict? Did she ever take off?
The answer is so clear. Oh, she absolutely took off. She just didn't follow the flight path the industry tried to give her. Instead, she built her own runway and launched a career that is sustainable, profitable, and, most importantly, completely and creatively fulfilling for her.
Tinashe's journey really leaves us with a bigger question for the whole modern music world. When artists can connect directly with their fans, control their own art, and build profitable careers all on their own, what does making it even mean anymore? Maybe true success isn't about becoming the next superstar, but about having the freedom to become the first and only you.